Hey guys, okay, today we are going to be talking about different types of graphs. Make sure you write down everything you see on the screen and make sure you write down everything that I write down. Your objective for today, you will be able to solve problems using data represented in bar graphs, dot plots, and circle graphs. Alright, so first of all we need to talk about data, and that is just a collection of numbers used for analysis. And data is what we are representing in our graphs, and that can be displayed many different ways. Now, the first way we could display it is a bar graph. That uses bars of the same width to represent frequency of each value in a data set. Frequency is just telling you how many times something happens. So, in this survey of favorite fruits for students, we see that we have 20 students who favor mangoes, 60 students who favor apples, 80 students who favor grapes, and so on. Now, these bars can be represented vertically or horizontally. These are vertical, and then below we have the exact same data, but it is represented with horizontal bars. A dot plot shows each data value as a dot above its location on a number line. So in this example, we have a dot plot of weekly test result averages. So if we wanted to know how many students had an average of, let's say, 80, well, we have 3 blue dots. So as we can see here, blue represents boys. That means that we have 3 boys with a test average of 80. Green represents girls, so we have 3 girls with a test average of 80. Now, let's talk about comparisons. There are 2 different types of comparisons that we may use when we are asked to represent data from a graph. So, in this example here, we have 5 puppies, 3 of them are boys, and 2 of them are girls. So let's talk about a part-to-whole comparison. That would be something like the boys to all of the pups. So we're just going to write a ratio, and I'm going to write it as a fraction. So I want the number of boys to the number of all the pups. Well, that would be 3 boys to a total of 5 pups. Girls to all pups, that would be 2 girls to a total of 5 pups. Now, part to part means we're not comparing anything to the total. So boys to girls, that would be 3 to 2. Girls to boys would be 2 to 3. Right, let's go ahead and look at an example. So the bar graph shows grades that students received on a test. Write a ratio that compares the number of students who received a B on their test to the number of students who received a C on their test. Express this ratio as a fraction, decimal, and a percent. Then interpret the ratio's meaning. So we are concerned about who received a B, and we're comparing that to who received a C. So we are going to look at our bar graph. As we can see here, B meets up here with the 6. So we had 6 students who received a B. And then for a C, this falls right between 8 and 10. So that must be 9. So 9 students received a C. So if I were to write this as a ratio, it would be B to C, which would be 6 to 9. Now, I want to write that as a fraction, decimal, and a percent. We know that 6 over 9 can be reduced to 2 over 3. Now, as a decimal, 2 over 3 is the same as 0.66 repeating, or you could round it to 0.67. And then if we're going from a decimal to a percent, we dip to the right 2 places. So that would be approximately 67% if we use what we rounded to the hundredths place. So now I want to interpret the ratio's meaning. So what this is saying is that for every 6 students who make a B, 9 students will make a C, but I want to make sure that is reduced as well. So I want to focus on this reduced version. So for every 2 students who receive a B, that means that 3 students will receive a C. All right, example 2. The dot plot shows the number of televisions that families own. What fraction of the total families own 2 televisions and expressed in simplest form? So we want to know, out of the total, how many people have 2 televisions? So I am concerned about who has 2 televisions. And if I count, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 families. So I'm concerned about families with 2 televisions out of the total. And I counted 4 families that have 2 televisions out of a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 families. I want to represent that in simplest form, so I will reduce 4 over 10 to 2 over 5. All right, example 3. The dot plot shows the number of times per week that students visit the library. How many more students visit 4 or more times per week than students that visit less than 2 times per week? If I see how many more, that means I'm going to subtract. And I'm concerned about students who visit 4 or more times per week. So I'm worried about this here, 4 or more, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'm also worried about students who visited less than 2 times. So 0 and 1 are less than 2. So for 4 or more times, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 students visited 4 or more times. And then less than 2 times would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 students. So I want to know how many more visited here than here. So I am simply going to take 8 minus 6. So 2 more students visited 4 or more times per week. All right, now it is time for you to try. I want you to use the bar graph and compare the total number of students surveyed to the ones who chose volleyball. Now the video is not over yet. Make sure you work through this problem and then hit play and we will talk about circle graphs. All right, circle graphs. So a circle graph is a graphical representation with sections that represent a part of the whole. So a circle graph is simply just a circle and it's split up into different sections. Now, a circle has 360 degrees total. So whenever we look at circles, we're usually using percentages to represent each section. So if 50% of a circle was shaded, that would be 180 degrees of the circle because 50% is half of 100%, 180 degrees is half of 360 degrees. So the size of each section is proportional to the size of the quantity and its relationship to 360 degrees of a circle. So let's look at an example together. So the circle graph at the right shows the favorite book types of students. Determine the missing value in the circle graph. And then we want to know what fraction of the total number of students surveyed is comedy. So we're talking about favorite book types. So we have a percentage for every type of book except for comedy. Well, as we saw on the previous page, the circle represents 100%. So that means that if I take every section and add it together, it should be a total of 100%. So what I want to do is I want to add all of these numbers, and then I'm going to subtract it from 100 to find what's missing. So for letter A, I am going to take 10 plus 18 plus 14 plus 16 plus 3. All right, I know 6 and 4 make 10, 8 and 3 make 11, and 10 plus 11 is 21. 4 ones make 4, plus 2 is 6. So all of these sections represent 61%, but I'm concerned about comedy. So I want to take that 61% and subtract it from 100. And when I subtract that, I get 39%. But it wants to know what fraction of the total number of students surveyed is comedy. So 39%, we know that a percent is out of 100. So that means 39 out of 100 students would prefer comedy. So now on letter B, it says a total of 300 students were surveyed. How many more total students were surveyed than favor mystery books? So now we know the actual number of students who were surveyed. So this whole entire circle represents 300 students. We want to know who favors mystery books first. So it says 18% favor mystery. So we want to know what is 18% of 300, because 18% of the 300 students prefer mystery. Now remember, whenever we find the percent of something, we are just going to write down what each word means. What is X, is equals, percent becomes a decimal, paddle to the left twice, of means to multiply, and then we just bring down 300. So I'm just going to take 0.18 times 300, and that's going to tell me how many students like mystery. So 300 times 0.18. Remember, I'm just going to multiply like normal, ignore the decimal till the end. I have 0 times 8, 0 times 8, and 3 times 8, which is 24. Put my placeholder, 0 times 1, 0 times 1, and 3 times 1, which is 3. Now I'm just going to add that together. Now I have 0 decimal places here, 2 here, so I have to have 2 in my answer. So that means 54 students like mystery. But I'm not done, because it wants to know how many more total students were surveyed than favor mystery books. How many more means we're going to subtract. So I want to know how many more total students were surveyed than favor mystery. So I'm going to take 300 minus the 54 who like mystery, and I'm going to have to borrow. 10 minus 4 is 6, 9 minus 5 is 4, and 2 minus 0 is 2. So that means 246 students did not like mystery. Alright, example 2. It says if 75 students picked mushroom as their favorite pizza topping, how many total were surveyed? So we know that this entire thing represents 100%. Mushroom is 20%. So we have 75 students. 75 students represents 20%. But we want to know the entire amount of students who were surveyed. So 75 is 20% of what number? 75 is 20% of what? So I'm just going to copy what I know and I'm going to translate this. So 75 equals, change my percent to a decimal, 0.20, of means to multiply, what means X. So if I take 0.20 times the total number, that should give me 75. So now I just have a one-step equation, and I want to isolate my variable. I want to do the inverse of multiplication, and I'm going to divide by the 0.20 on both sides. I'm going to come over here to the right and do the division. So I know that these become 1. I'm literally left with 1x, and I have to do 75 divided by 0.20. So top dog goes in the house. Have to move my decimal 2 places to the right outside and 2 places to the right inside. And I have to bring my decimal up in its new place. So now I have 7,500 divided by 20, which is equivalent to 75 divided by 0.20. So 20 does not go into 7, but it goes into 75 3 times. So I will take away 60, and I'm left with 15. I'll bring down this 0. 20 goes into 150 7 times, which is 140. I subtract, and I'm left with 10. So now I bring down my last 0, and 20 goes into 100 5 even times. So that means the total number of students who were surveyed is 375. Alright, now it is time for you to try. We want you to find how many students that their favorite pie is apple from this circle graph, and then find out how many more students prefer apple to cherry. Make sure you show all of your work so that you can get full credit on your notes. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next class day.